All I know is we could go anywhere, we could do.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I actually wanted to talk about this a long time ago. It was in my to-do list, which is a question I get a lot asked in Spain is, what are you or where are you from? And I felt really compelled to do so, just to do it today, even on my day off, because I ran across a video on Facebook particularly about a situation that happened in Madrid's metro. And it's something that I always discuss and talk about. That's one of the things that shocks me about living here. And in the very beginning, a lot of people used to say, well, Spaniards are very racist. Disclosure of this video, for Spaniards, or if I generalize too much, I apologize. This is not something that I want to generalize. I just kind of want to give an opinion, especially living here for 4 years. I think I'm entitled to that. And I can honestly say that I have experienced a lot of maybe unintentional discrimination, but regardless, they were just still comments that could have been avoided. But I think the best way to handle certain situations like this is to just kind of talk about it, and not necessarily that it's a bad situation, just know how to deal with it, especially when you're abroad. But first, coffee. So let me see. So the first part is questions that annoy me. I also want to kind of say, my little disclosure is that I kind of created a really short, abbreviated list of questions that I've ran into, but also have been similar questions that people who have lived here, who are from a different ethnic background, that are from the U.S. have also experienced, and the kind of questions that they've received, because they were all the same. It doesn't matter. I have my editor from my crew. She's actually Vietnamese American, and then I have another person who comes from a very different perspective. She's actually European, but she's grown up most of her time in the U.S. So I would say I would consider her to be more American, with a lot of traditional values from Moldova. So you can check them out. So as I mentioned before, there was a video that went viral on Facebook that I saw it, and I've already had this topic in the works for a while. But some of the questions that annoy me and that annoy my counterparts have been, where are you from? And this question is always followed up by after you've already told them where you're from. So they're constantly either saying, like for my Moldovan friend, they're like, she'll say, oh, well, I'm from Moldova, but I live in the U.S. They're like, oh, so you're Russian. And you're like, yes, but not quite. I mean, it was Russia, but I didn't grow up when it was the USSR. Do you know your history? So I can understand that. Or for example, so I mean, this happens in the US, it happens in reverse. And then here in Europe, for example, I always get this, and also my Vietnamese friend always gets this. She's like, but where are you from? And she's like, I'm from California. And I always say, I'm from Texas. And I guess for me, it would be more simple, because obviously Texas is like right next to Mexico, and then they think that I'm Mexican, even though my heritage is completely different from Mexican culture. But whatever. And she'll say, no, well, yeah, I come from Vietnamese parents. In fact, she was actually born there, but she considers herself obviously from California because that's where she pretty much grew up and was raised. And she goes to Vietnam, she doesn't know what no sabe que pinta allí. She doesn't know if she's meant to be there or not. So that's one of the questions that you will always be asked if you are not blonde hair and blue-eyed, period. End of story. The follow-up question is they'll continue asking you until they get to the point where you're like, I just answered and I just told you, like, I'm from Texas. My mom's Panamanian. I heard Spanish. I didn't speak Spanish that often because obviously everyone speaks English. And so then they want to know until they get to that point, until they get to the point that you're not really American or what they consider American. What else? And my favorite is like, but what is that? Like, I know, what was it? My friend from Moldova gets this too. Like, but Moldova, oh, what is that? And you're like, it's a country. It used to belong to the USSR, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you want to just tell them, look it up, you know? Or sometimes because you've already told them, they're kind of dismissive and they're like, they don't want to talk to you anymore because they feel that, or at least the perception they give off is that, well, she's not really American. She's just, she's like an immigrant or something. And it's kind of like, okay, then why bother even talking to me to begin with? You were already hitting on me or you were already trying to get information out of me. What, are you done with me? And then the next one is always followed up with, what do you do? In Spain, one of the things that's really hard to get used to, but I got used to it, is that here they're very open about how much they make. And they will say like, oh, well, yeah, like I make the na-na-na, so how much do you make? And it's unintentional. It's not that they want to make you feel like, oh, I make more than you. Or no, it's just that everyone makes here a base of a certain salary since it has a bit of a, everyone pays into the system. So everyone kind of is making roughly the same amount. So it's not like they want to take anything from you or you could take anything from them kind of thing because the salary bases here are not very high. For example, if you come here as an auxiliary, you're going to be making 1,000 euros a month. If you do a program that has a master's, you probably just be making 600 a month, if that. And that's still decent amount of money. I know it's shocking for Americans to hear that, but it's something that you have to kind of get used to. So for, like, I remember in the States, when people would ask me, how much do you make? Like, people would never even actually think to ask you how much you made. They try to figure out on their own how much you made, but they would never flat out in your face, like, oh, how much do you make? Never, never. So it's just one of those little things that you kind of have to get used to.
We could go anywhere, we could do anything, girl, whatever